Well, hello and welcome to day number 5, the final day of the EMS Leadership Summit. In today's daily debrief, I'm Robin McHugh here with Lisa Druzzi. Lisa, how are you?
I am well, and welcome, everyone. We are so thrilled to be here. What a day today! Day 5 did not disappoint. Every day we've had such amazing presenters, and today was no exception. So, in a few minutes, we'll invite our panel of speakers from today's presentations to join us. So, if you have questions or comments, it would really mean a lot to the speakers if you've watched their presentation and just share anything maybe that resonated with you, or if you have any questions, use the comment section. We are really looking forward to answering your questions tonight.
And maybe just throw in the chat wherever you're watching from, where you're joining us from. We'd love to see where folks are joining in, as we are simulcasting across multiple networks, LinkedIn Live, the Facebook groups for High Performance EMS. Martin from Fire Rescue TV has set us up on his network. So we're simulcasting to just over 200,000 possible followers across the Facebook brands. And we are also going live in the virtual exhibitor hall, folks. So if you visit emsleadershipsummit.com/exhibit, you're going to be able to see today's sessions as a free pass holder. You're going to get information about our speakers, the sessions. There's still plenty of time left today to watch those sessions. And if you wanted to upgrade to the all access pass, we are offering that at a discounted rate, as little as right now, I think $97, and the price is going to go up after Sunday. So make sure you upgrade if you want lifetime access to all these sessions to build your leadership library, CME credits, MP3 audios, and some additional bonuses that we're throwing in. So Lisa, we've got the virtual exhibitor hall up. And we'd like to, I think, go into the booth here for Wayfound, since we are doing a grand prize giveaway tonight. So we'll be doing it on the live. Make sure there's still time to enter here into the grand prize drawing for artwork from Dan's son, a paramedic first responder who has done some beautiful work, and a signed coffee table book for his artwork, as well as a custom drawn piece of art for your organization.
Yes, these are 2 different prizes, and you just want to visit that website because his artwork is powerful, just really powerful.
So we thank the Wayfound group for sponsoring the summit and featuring some of their work on before operational stress and their program there that has been peer-reviewed, researched. And for any of our Canadian first responders, there is grant money available to make it at no cost for you.
Yeah, and we really appreciate each and every one of our sponsors, because they are, with their support, we can offer this as a free summit for folks. And really appreciate if you, as a viewer, as a participant, would go to the various booths and see what they have to offer. Every single booth has something on offer, and many offer discounts, many have free things. I mean, even our booth has a free 8-minute video to help with conflict resolution.
I think we've got to show the Emergency Responder Safety Institute, the respondersafety.com's booth. Tonight we've got Dr. Candace McDonald, who's with us, and I think they've got her here as a cartoon action figure. But she's done an excellent job with responder safety, and they put together an entire landing page of resources for EMS providers at all levels of an organization, how to improve your roadway safety while working near roadways. And, you know, they have the unfortunate responsibility they've taken on of tracking struck by incidents and, you know, indexing those to get a real count for how dangerous the roadways are for first responders. So definitely check out Responder Safety's booth. We appreciate their support.
Yes, very much so. And then we have Ninth Brain, a returning sponsor, really innovative solutions for folks who are leaders, you know, to take some of those things off your plate that are so time consuming. So they have a free demo available, and you can fill in your name and contact information, and Bradley Hughes will get in touch with you and I love his title, Cognitive Crusader of Client Services. That's a
Yes.
great
They
title.
all have very interesting job titles there
Mhm.
at that organization. Something involved in the brain, so it's quite
Yeah.
fun. Folks, check out FirstNet booth by AT&T. We've got some rapid deployables here for those in the US to learn about the public safety infrastructure that's available, as well as discounted plans for your family, you as a first responder, and your organization. So you could direct any questions to the FirstNet group, and they have a rep that's going to follow up with everyone.
Yes, and they even have information on their therapy dogs. They have about 30 now. So it's a really interesting program that they have to help folks.
All right, Lisa, there's lots. We can get to some of the other sponsors when we take a break, but we've got a room full of panelists waiting to take your questions, folks. So comment in the chat where you're joining in from, or if you have any questions on the sessions this week. So let me just bring the exhibitor booth down, and we'll bring in two of our first speakers today on the lineup. Heather Edward from BC and Vancouver Island. Welcome, Heather.
Hi, Heather.
And we've got Dr. Angela Caravaggio joining us as well.
Hello, Angela. Welcome. Thank you both for joining us tonight.
Pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
I don't know where you're located. It's night over here at 6 o'clock.
Very west of New York.
Okay, great. That's right, BC, of course.
So I'll bring in our other panelists here. We've got Mike Touchstone. Mike is a very experienced leader in both the fire services as well as the past president of NEMSMA. Mike, thanks for joining us tonight.
Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, there we go.
Yes, I was muted. Thank you, guys. I appreciate the invite.
It's
I'd like to
wonderful
bring
to have
in
you with us. Thank you.
Dr. Candace McDonald. Welcome.
Hello, glad to be here with everybody.
Glad to have you. How about that action figure you got going on in the booth?
Yes, they did a great job with that.
I want one of those.
I do too. So,
And Josh Watts. Josh, welcome to the panel.
Hi there. Thank you so much.
So,
It's great
folks,
to have you.
we have this phenomenal panel here. Any questions you might have about the sessions? Maybe we could just start with a question to, Heather and Angelo, really about your session, because I've been talking it up every chance I get since we recorded it. Whether it's talking to people about the summit or people that aren't even talking to me about the summit, I've been having some great conversations about the language of leadership and what one of the phrases you said, one of the worst things we could do is make management a verb.
Yeah, it's I'll just step in. It's so interesting. Since Angelo was actually my instructor when I took my master's degree, and his influence has actually changed a lot of people's language of leadership. Just when I met Robbie for the first time and we were talking about leadership and management, the amount of times that I said, hey, Robbie, you're talking about management and leadership and you're using them interchangeably, and that's not actually what we're looking to do. So it's amazing when we're aware of it and we're able to catch ourselves and to change our language so that with shared understanding, we know when to use the word to manage and when to use the word leadership, because leadership is about people and management is about stuff.
Yeah, and those two have definitely been collapsed, no doubt about it.
Yeah, they're not the same.
No, not
I
at
mean,
all.
if I could, the one word I would get rid of is manager, because that's the one that really throws everything for. And unfortunately, organizations have co-opted it to mean a supervisory position in an organization. And because of that, that's why the whole idea of leadership and management have been messed up.
And I love the phrase that you mentioned too, that that if people could rethink who they are in an organization, they're leaders with management responsibilities, and that they're, as an individual, they're either effective, ineffective, or toxic. Like their actions have one of those three consequences. And I think that's just a brilliant way to look at it from kind of a non-judgmental way as well, but an opportunity for improvement. Yeah.
And I mean, one of the things that I didn't get an opportunity to talk about is the fact that if you've taken the time to build the relationships with the people that work for you, you've built up to the credibility and trust that you need in order for you to be effective. there's going to be times throughout the year when you can't do the relationship piece because you're focused on getting budgets done or getting inventory done or the task piece. And so what happens is, because you have built that credibility and trust with your followers, they will then give you the latitude to focus on tasks for that specific portion of the time frame or the calendar, because everybody has tasks that they have to complete. And typically there's timelines. So the followers will say, yeah, we get it. You need to be focused on this at this point in time. But that can only happen if you've taken the time to build the credibility and trust before that time frame, right? Then the followers say, right, we understand. You need to get this stuff done. Go ahead, boss. Mm-hmm. Because when it comes around to, we need you again, we know that you're going to be there.
Yeah,
exactly.
And I so appreciate what Heather demonstrates in her leadership. She'll set her email auto reply that I'm on the road today. I'm out there with the folks that are on the road, and having those face-to-face interactions that you both mentioned build a certain sense of social capital, whether it's you to a peer, you to a subordinate, you to your boss. And it's in every one of those interactions that people have an opportunity to demonstrate leadership, to demonstrate building a relationship. So kudos.
Yeah, I think the really important thing, though, is that, we all, like, to echo what Angelo said, we all have these tasks. Like when I'm in a paramedic role, I have the task to intubate the patient, to manage tasks on the scene. But it's the leadership that we do when we're outside of the clinical practice that will actually help us to engage when we're in clinical practice. Mm-hmm. And it's those small moments of time when my phone is ringing and I say, you know what, I'm going to get to this in just a second, but I'm here focusing on you. And what you have to say and what you're feeling and what you're thinking is really important. And that's what Angelo was talking about, is building that credibility. It's that relationship piece. Like, leadership is truly about people. And they know it. We all know that. We have leaders that think, oh, they have time for me. And leaders that we think, oh, there's no time. And that's because they didn't build that credibility bank with us.
Yeah, absolutely. It reminds me, Josh, of what you and I talked about in your session and your presentation, where, your title of yours was, how to get your unfair share, right? And it had to do with the relationships. And you shared about how, if you could say a little bit about how your company has grown, and yet you continue that culture of caring for your people.
I think at the end of the day, there's so many opportunities to create the persona, if you will, of what your team is going to believe about you. And so many people think it's a formal thing that starts in a book or a formalized process. And in reality, it starts the first time they interact with your company, whether that's a human or a job posting or a Facebook post or whatever. And so what we have tried to do is humanize the process from the beginning, in a conversational way, as opposed to an interview. And so we really try hard to understand about the person and about their goals and about what they're trying to accomplish in their career before we jump into the tactical requirements of the job, and say, this is what this company is about. And if after talking about the big picture, you'd like to move forward in the process, then I'll help make that happen. And I think it's flipping the paradigm on its head, and recognizing that we're not just blessing someone with an interview. They're actually blessing us with an interview and an opportunity to learn about them and what they want to accomplish. And the unfair share piece, of course, speaks to the most limited resource we have, which is great providers, great individuals to be on the team. And we're not the only industry looking for similar skill sets. And that's been so true over the last 2 to 3 years, as optionality has really shown itself outside of EMS and other healthcare settings, and then even outside of healthcare. So I think just recognizing that we can have the best equipment in the world, the best training processes in the world, the best of all of those things, but those are all technically overhead. The people are what does the work. And if we don't support them, then we don't have a business or we don't have an agency. So that's my passion.
It's really great.
So we talk, Josh, you point to it, is we say it's the most valuable resource an organization has, and we've mentioned it on some of these lives that these live streams that we all have budgets for stretcher repairs, for monitor and equipment maintenance, for building repairs. When it comes to budget season, maybe it's something we can all bring a little bit forward in our minds, is like, what is the people maintenance kind of line? What investment are we going to make in people, whether that's through training and education and development? Imagine developing a bunch of leaders before they were just promoted into a leadership position, right? Building the capacity of people so they feel cared for. You're making an investment into me, like that sends a huge message. So I don't know if Josh or Mike or Candace, you have any feedback on, how do we look to this people maintenance and build the capacity of people?
So if I could say one, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I absolutely love this conversation. So my dissertation was actually on retention of volunteer EMS and firefighters. And, looking at that, it wasn't money that people wanted. It was the non-wage benefit. It was being supported with mental health and wellness programs and a flexible schedule. So that was something else that rose to the top. Our providers, they value their family, which is a wonderful thing. So we need to be able to nurture that. And I think the more we take care of them, it kind of goes back to that whole stakeholder theory. If we take care of our internal stakeholders, then our company's going to grow and good things are going to happen.
So Robbie, you mentioned preparing people, and we currently do very poor job of that. Every time I got promoted, I got thrown into a job for which I was unprepared. And that's not really very fair. Now, I don't believe, that's unfair. That's life, right? There is no such thing as fair. But what I can say is, to what Candace just mentioned and what Josh, you were talking about, and some of the stuff that Angelo and Heather were talking about, we really owe it to the future to teach people the skills that they need for their next job. Those of us that hold leadership positions, we should be, and I said it, mentors aren't going to find you. You have to find a mentor. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe we need to flip that idea and seek out students who are willing to do the work and do a professional development plan. What do you need to, well, first of all, what's important to you? What do you want? Where do you want to be, and how are you going to get there? Mm-hmm. And then folks like us can give them the tools and the guidance for them to be able to make good choices and not get, Robbie, you talked about getting shoulded, right? Well, no, it's not about what you should do. It's what you want to do. And then all of these different things that we're talking about has to do with language, dialogue, conversations. And we don't teach our people how to talk, how to listen, how to communicate. We just expect them to be able to do it. We don't give them clear expectations. So, I can talk about this all day. I'll stop.
So, can I jump on this for just a second here?
Sure.
So, a lot of it comes down to, because I work a lot with police organizations and I run into this all the time. Investment in people. Is it actually an investment, or is it viewed as an organizational cost? Okay. Then you have now it's either, a cost or an investment in the future of the organization and the people there. Then you have the mandatory training, which typically gets funded, but then you have the discretionary professional development part, which normally ends up at the very end or at the very bottom. And that's the first thing that gets cut when budgets go out the window. And so I go back to Mike's point, right? Where you promote somebody, they have the accountability, they have the responsibility, they have the rank, but they don't have the proper education and training. And so when they fail, who has failed? The individual or the organization? And so who now is accountable? The organization that promoted someone and didn't give them the proper education and training to do the job that they were promoted to do? Or the person that went out was put in a compromised position by the organization and didn't operate the way that they were expected to? where's the liability there? Where's the accountability there? Because typically the first place that it falls is on the individual. But did the organization actually properly prepare the individual for what the organization was asking them to do?
This is a topic that was brought up by Justin Reed and Nadine Levick today on her live keynote. Addressed this is, it's a system failure. If you're not, if something happened like that, you like the organization actually taking responsibility that they created an environment that caused and allowed that to happen, rather than blaming the individual in it. And on that point, we've got another one of our speakers is Mick Gunderson. Mick, welcome. We're talking about systems here, and that is your forte when it comes to improvement. So welcome to the panel.
Thank you.
Angela, on your point, Robbie and I often talk about, like, you can get the most expensive rose bush in the world, and if you put it in, you put it in a parking lot, that thing doesn't have a shot, right? If you don't give it the proper water and nutrition and soil and sunlight, it doesn't matter how quality that rose bush is. If you put it in an environment it's not designed to be in, then it's going to fail. And human beings are the same way. That, as human beings, there are conditions under which we work best, and when those conditions aren't met, it's not up to the individual. I mean, not to say that we fully have some responsibility and accountability, but the environment includes the systems and all kinds of things, and I think that gets lost a lot of times when someone doesn't meet the measures. And they look at the person, the individual, rather than wait, where did we fall down? What did we do?
And if I can just hop in, I totally agree with you, Lisa, 100% on, it's where the environment is. And yet you still have those plants that grow through the cracks in that parking lot where you put the rose bush and they die. Because some people just have that natural resiliency, and they go out, and although it's not provided by the organization, they go out and they seek it themselves. So I totally believe in, creating the right environment. And at some point, people take it upon themselves to grow and to flourish, and hopefully they can become the people that lead the right environment. So although we're in a bit of a staffing crisis, retainment crisis, like Dr. McDonald said there, and it all comes back to, if you tied in, that discretionary training that we're not doing. That's what people are passionate about, and you have to take the training, but it's the discretionary training that keeps you and retains you, and that's the environment in which we all flourish. But again, you have those plants that grow in the crack in the parking lot as well. So we are accountable for it, and the organizations are accountable for it. But it's those small little plants that grow and flourish that will actually change that whole parking lot, that will have some growth and have some life.
I love that about the plants in the parking lot. I think that's such a valuable piece of information. One of the things when I work with departments and I'm helping them build their retention and recruitment plan, I always tell them that they need to develop a written career path from rookie to white helmet, and to include technical, soft skills, all of that on that, because what we know about our younger generation is they are so educational driven. It's like, what do I need to do to get here? And they're excited and they're passionate, and we want to provide that for them. And so I always encourage departments to provide that written plan. And the other thing that I always tell them, and I see this especially in the volunteer world, is I tell them that they got to give up the nozzle, so to speak. What I see is we get a new EMT, and they start off, and this happens a lot in the volunteer world, we get a bad trauma. We get on an accident, a bad trauma, and they'll say, oh, you know what? The seasoned paramedic and EMT says, I got this. You can get the next one because this is a bad trauma. We don't allow people to practice their skills. And this goes on where this new person kind of gets pushed aside. So what happens when, they show up to the station and they're the provider, and then people get angry at them. Well, you should know how to do this. You've been an EMT for how long? But they never had an opportunity to practice their skills and be taught. And, I always tell people, when I see somebody making a mistake, rather than embarrassing, I always say to them, let me show you an easier way to do that. That's always my way to say that in the back of an ambulance. Let me show you an easier way to do that. And, but we don't allow people the opportunity to make mistakes so that we can help them. And so I think that's one thing that we need to do better as leaders and as seasoned providers.
Let me throw something back to you, Doc. There are guidelines around in the community. NEMSMA has the 7 pillars of EMS leadership that's available at NEMSMA.com. You can go to FESHI, the Fire and Emergency Service Higher Education Model, lays it out step by step. I mean, I'm a paramedic in a fire department, so I know fire resources. International Association of Fire Chiefs has an officer development handbook that tells you in education, training, certification, operational aspects, you can find a really good roadmap. Center for Public Safety Excellence has a certified EMS chief, and they lay out everything you need to have. So how many people know about those things? And I think it's our job to promote them. And I mean, promote the resources and tools. They'll have to get themselves promoted through the process, but their tools, this whole set, the Leadership Summit, what a great tool. And, National Fire Academy is a place, conferences are a place. We need to make it available for our folks to be able to prepare themselves if the organization isn't going to prepare them.
Yeah, I agree. That's great advice.
If I could say something to that, maybe I'm the odd man out here a little bit from the private EMS side. And what I've seen is such variability at the agency level from a design perspective, from a scale perspective, for instance, serving multiple different geographies and having those slight cultural differences in each geography. I think it's really important to standardize the right things, but also give areas and groups of people some ability to develop their identity, in those areas. And, one of the biggest, missing links that I've seen as MedTrust, unfortunately went through a period of hypergrowth over about 3 or 4 years, went from 40 employees to 400 employees in 4 years. And that's exciting, but it's really, really messy. And one thing that I would say is that leaders are not unlike anyone else in the organization. They're going to gravitate towards the things that the organization shows are important. And if what you're showing is important are the tactical or technical skills, but you're not showing what's important is the leadership skills, the development, the mentoring, the support, and the servant aspect of leadership, then they don't see the right definition of leadership. So to the point of preparing folks for that next step, there's the tactical things, and then there's the piece that we're all talking about, which is the soft skill, empathetic, relational piece. And if they never see it demonstrated, we certainly are asking for a lot to expect them to rewrite the culture.
Certainly, we love that idea of, at least I love that idea of, how do you develop those soft skills? Some people even call them essential skills. If you look at the frameworks for emotional intelligence, emotional self-control, self-awareness, and relationship building, like I see parallels drawn between all of your different presentations that make what would be possible if we were able to give folks those tools for people to really develop themselves as leaders.
And I think too, there's this old style of, that's sort of getting phased out, hopefully, of, I should know this already, so I don't ask for help. If, Mike, you mentioned about how, getting put in a position when you're not totally ready for it, or you don't, like you find yourself in over your head, asking for help is not, in many organizations, not okay. Right. So you just have to try to fake it till you make it. So I think conversations like this and other trainings that really allow people to see that there's strength in acknowledging what you don't know and learning, and it's okay not to know. It's really okay. And if you think you already know everything, get out of the profession because that's not a leader. We often talk about having a learner's mindset, right? That's being a leader is having a learner's mindset and having that curiosity and willingness to grow and discover something new.
One of the other things that strikes me though is Candace mentioned rookie to white helmet, and I love that phrase, but the other thing that occurs to me is maybe having more conversation with your staff and finding out what their, longer term career ambitions are. Something that I would love to see happen more in the industry, the profession, is if someone, say, wants to go to medical school or nursing school or, whatever it might be, and that seems to be, quite common, do what we can to retain them, certainly, in providing career paths. But the fact of the matter is that some people will not be staying in EMS specifically. So, why not design for that? Why not design a program that embraces a, medical student or, other person seeking, their graduate degree or whatever the case may be, and trying to accommodate that schedule rather than trying to do whatever we can to throw rocks in the way. Because I think that could be an interesting strategy to get very talented, motivated, well-educated people working with us for a few years. So if we had a schedule that would accommodate that, or, different things we could do to support them, and then actually market that. Are you planning to go to medical school? We'll come to work with, our EMS agency and, be a part of our organization, share your knowledge, be part of our team. And then, what you look for is maybe a longer term relationship, once they become physicians or become nurses or engineers or whatever they choose to be. We've got an advocate out there in the community we can work with.
Yeah.
That's so well said. We recently heard about, I think it was about a year ago, right, Robbie? We heard about an organization that they were in really basically a college town. And so they embraced that and provided free housing for college students who did a certain number of hours of
on-call.
And it was highly successful because now they've, become either EMTs or paramedics, and they go back to their home communities and participate there as well, and maybe, go on to some other profession. But I think that's a kind of in line with what you're talking about, Mick, is like design for the way it's going. Like how do we not resist it, I guess,
And I think I was going to say, I think too, what we fail to realize is that those folks that join us and then they go on to become RNs and they go on to become a PA or a doctor, they can be our advocates. My husband did the paramedic to RN program, and now he has his master's and he's a nurse manager, and he's so empathetic, when squads come in, because he's been in that role. And sometimes we forget about that. Our own people can be our best advocates. And Lisa, to tie into what you said, there's a department that I worked with, and they put a washer and dryer in their station. They were in a college town. They said, that way their members could come and wash their personal clothes there. And while they were there, if the tones dropped, they were there to go on a call. But that was the non-wage benefit that they offered them, because, the laundromat is something that's expensive. So they were able to meet, their stakeholders' need by doing that and being creative.
That's great.
Yeah, and even taking that a step further, a lot of ambulance services I've heard complain about, so many of the people will join our organization, and then after a few years they leave and go to work for the fire department. Well, rather than seeing that as a negative, perhaps flip that around and see it as an opportunity. Design, a path and collaborate with your local fire departments so that, what sort of experiential things would you like them to be exposed to? What sort of things would better position themselves to transition to the fire department, and, design it that way up front. But again, not neglect the opportunity to up your own game and make retention into your agency more attractive, but at the same time, dealing with, that reality that a number of people are going to make the jump from private ambulance service into dual role firefighter, paramedic, or whatever the case may be.
But I think an interesting point there, we operate in Jacksonville, Florida, where JFRD is a very large system, I think 50 plus ALS apparatus. And so they're always hiring. And I think it was really easy for some of our senior operational folks that have been in the industry forever to assume the reason for why people were wanting to go to the fire department. And there's easy things, right? There's union, there's, pay scales, there's wanting to quote unquote fight fire. But if you actually have this relationship where you can ask the why, one of the things that was really eye-opening was that the reason some people leave to go to fire is a feeling of structure and expectation of how they move forward, that may not be in your agency. And I think that goes back to your point of kind of laying out a plan, that I think we get in trouble assuming that everyone wants to grow in the same way. And some people want to grow and have career ladder opportunities on the clinical side, and they have no interest in being a manager or a supervisor or a captain or a lieutenant or whatever the term is, right? A lot of those people are actually most interested in something else, and we just make these assumptions and spend money, time, and effort building a program that doesn't actually serve the individual. It serves this idea that we're probably wrong about, but it's because it's harder to have these conversations individually and know your people at that level. But how powerful can that be when you can understand that and kind of promote? But structure is one of those things that's a little bit odd, because if you standardize process to the lowest common denominator, you actually eliminate the capabilities of so many of your staff. So it's about standardizing the right things that are best practice, not standardizing the easy things sometimes.
Can I say one thing before we go to the big prize money? What you just said, Josh, we don't have a way to recognize somebody who might be considered a clinical master.
Right.
So if we want to follow essentially what might be considered a trade model with apprentices, journeymen, and masters, which
Correct.
we sort of do, but we really don't because we don't define it. If you're a street medic, you're a street medic. That's the end of it. You might become a crew chief, maybe. But like Mick is saying, why don't we design a system where there is a sequential growth and development and recognition of improved performance? Because, we need preceptors. We need people to pass on the information. We need the master clinical practitioners to share their knowledge. We need to teach them how to do it because they don't think about what they do anymore, right? So we have to re-indoctrinate them to share their knowledge and how and why they do it. But that's a really interesting thought about people who want to stay in clinical practice, and we don't support that.
And I think it points to, Heather, what you talked about is develop, and actually it was Leon and Jenny talked about, but you're very much involved in the BC system, is that advanced paramedic level.
I was going to hop in and say that, in the organization I work for, BC EHS, we do have those roles. We do have those opportunities, and we support it. And we're flourishing because we have clinical governance, clinical practice. We're a very large, forward-thinking, innovative organization that has actually created those people who do want to focus on clinical excellence. We have that opportunity, and we allow them to coach and mentor and to drive where we're going. They are the leaders of our organization in terms of clinical practice and clinical excellence. So how you're saying that it doesn't exist, it does. It does exist with us. I know it exists with other organizations. I've been with other paramedic services across Canada, and we're actually we're promoting that quite a bit. It's a very strong culture. It's we're leading change. You don't manage change, you lead change. And we're allowing it to be driven and influenced from the people that are on the streets doing clinical practice. So we're serving them and helping them to create and to drive innovation and better services to our community, better clinical excellence. So it does exist. It is out there.
That's so great.
Share that with the U.S.
Well, we're growing, right? And we have two my colleagues, Jenny and Leon. I believe they were on day one, and they spoke to it, and they were both drivers of change. And it came from the paramedics, and it was because the people on the front lines, they were our leaders. They influenced where we were going with our clinical practice. It's not about from where you are in the organization in terms of your time there or your scope of practice. It comes from your ability to step up and influence, like Angelo said in our presentation, right? To the 8 presentation, they influenced up and they drove the change. So we're happy to have anyone come join us at BCEHS and be part of that. We're open to thought, and we're open to to change. So please, if anyone's listening and they want to come be part of that innovative change, let us know.
So great. And you can tell why I love featuring the BC EHS system, or talking to, other systems across the world, from Tony Walker's group at Ambulance Victoria, and to hear what's happening in the UK. But certainly the BC EHS has driven a lot of change, and they've been very innovative.
It's a team approach, total team approach. And everybody from the frontline medic on day one to somebody who's been here for 35 years, in our organization, it doesn't matter where you are in the organization. If you have an idea, bring it forward. And it's, how can we make this work? It's not why can't this work? It's how can we make it work? How can we integrate that? Like, it's a we can do it, not we shouldn't do it. We have a really different approach.
Absolutely. Brilliant. So with that, let's take a break and head over for the grand prize drawing. We've been talking about it all week, folks, thanks to the Wayfound group, the Wayfound mental health group out of Canada. Again, very innovative programs with their before operational stress program. They've got a pretty deep discount here to take their online program. If you're an agency, you can get a bulk volume discount. And if you're a Canadian resident, there is grant money to pay for your providers to take that BOSS program, a peer-reviewed program for mental health and proactive psychological protection for public safety personnel. So we've been, folks have been entering for these two prizes all week. We've got the signed coffee table book by the artist Dan Sun, and some really just vivid pictures working with first responders and as a paramedic themselves. So we will bring up the virtual spin to win wheel. So first is the coffee table book, and then we're going to do a piece of custom drawn artwork by the artist for your organization. So we've loaded in the names here and try to go into full screen mode a bit. And I think we're ready to spin the wheel. Let's see.
This is very exciting.
Scott Willits. Scott, congratulations on the coffee table book. Just jotting this down so I don't mess it up later. And we will do the second drawing now for the custom artwork. All right, Augusto. We have two books for Ultimate Coaching as well by Chris Cebollero. So, folks, we will pick two more names for the Ultimate Coaching book and get those out to you in the mail. So, first up here, again, thanks everybody for joining this spin to win wheel. We've got Tim Gibson. Congratulations, Tim. Let's do one more for the Ultimate Coaching book, Skills for Developing a Highly Engaged Workforce. And that would be Chris Cebollero's latest book. Lawrence, congratulations. And if we could, we've got our Making Good of the Order book, Making Good of the Order, the best part of your meetings. If you've ever had that opportunity in your meetings to leverage the last few minutes of a meeting and leave people on a high note, Lisa and I have put that book together, and we will go ahead and get those in the mail. So we're going to pick two names here. All right, Charlene, congratulations. And last one. Haha. Actually, I know that person, Scott Skinner. Fantastic. All right, well, folks, thanks for indulging us in the spin to win prize wheel. Thought it would be a fun way to, again, take our virtual exhibitor hall, make it a little more interactive for folks. We thank the Wayfound Group as well as our other sponsors for supporting this free event, the emsleadershipsummit.com. You can get your free pass still, because I think we still have about 14 hours left to watch today's sessions.
I think
Well, I think it was just great that you're able to score Zach Galifianakis to be on the show with us, with the content deal with Between Two Ferns.
we were talking about that off camera earlier. That's so funny.
All right.
Well, that was fun. That was our very first time in all 4 years having a grand prize and doing the spin to win. So that was a lot of fun. And it's definitely created a lot of buzz this week around the virtual exhibit hall. But I do want to encourage people to, we'll go through it again towards the end of the daily debrief, but just please encourage people to go to each of the booths. There's something valuable in every single booth, information, free content, gifts, all kinds of wonderful things that our sponsors have put together. So I highly encourage people to go there.
I just looked up who Augusto is, and he's actually from the Peel Regional Paramedic Service in Canada. So pretty awesome. Congratulations on that.
What we were talking about before the break, I just wanted to throw it to Mick for a second, because in your presentation, you talk about creating, using quality as a context for growing people. And I wondered if you would just touch on that a little bit about your idea for, creating these specialties, if you will, around paramedicine.
Yeah, so this kind of ties into what Heather was talking about with trying to, create more opportunities for clinical leadership in the organization. And so one of the things I touched on was this idea of a EMS clinical specialist, analogous to specialties in medicine, nursing clinical specialists we see in trauma and neurosciences, different fields as well. So the core idea here is that in the quality aspect, many organizations have a bottleneck in that the quality manager is responsible for doing so many things for the organization. And oftentimes I observe that by the time they gather the data and just do basic follow-up on complaints and very basic statistics on, different activities in the organization, oftentimes I find it, incredibly ironic that there's very little time left at the end of the day for them to actually do legitimate quality improvement projects. And so part of the idea here is that let's try to use that as an opportunity to get people that have a lot of interest in growing clinically to get involved in those clinical quality improvement projects, initially with ad hoc improvement project teams. And then if they take to that well, create an opportunity for people to join what I call clinical specialty teams. So it'll be a group of people that are really interested in trauma, and they take stewardship of the trauma aspects of the clinical practice of the organizations. They do trauma journal club. They monitor best practices in trauma. They keep an eye on what's going on with new equipment in trauma, but they just become kind of this resource in the organization. That's where the changes in the trauma protocols are suggested, new trauma technology or equipment is tried out, etc. But they just kind of take that whole area under wing while they're still working in the field. There can be, some management support of this, of course, but it just creates this opportunity for people to begin to grow clinically. And then the people on that clinical specialty team that do real well, groom them to become those EMS clinical specialists in that area. And then those are the people that would be the chair, so to speak, of that particular clinical specialty team. And the way I was envisioning this unfolding is really not university based. It would be great to do that at some point, but an EMS organization wouldn't need to do it that way and focus on experiential learning, where they would do rotations with an interventional cardiologist if it's a cardiology area, or with trauma surgeons if it was a trauma area, etc., along with the kind of general distribution education in the methodology of research, very basic statistics, quality management, leadership principles, et cetera, that no matter which clinical specialty you want to focus on, you would go through those parts of the training as well. And then that fits into a broader context of then who better to recruit from for new leadership opportunities at any part of the organization than people who had the wherewithal and drive to step up and get involved in this. Now management has had a chance to see how well they do in these, more managerial types of roles rather than just their work in the field. And it would be a great opportunity to train people up and prepare them for these other management roles. So that's kind of the gist of the idea.
I would again challenge, as I do with every time I hear the word leadership and management, I always challenge to change the language of I agree with what Mick's saying, but I would also challenge you, Mick, to change your verbiage to a leadership role, because again, I totally believe in what you're saying and encourage it. And I think if we're going to encourage growth, we also have to encourage a different language moving forward. So we need to bring in more language of changing the leadership role and not the management role. I'd love to evolve because again, management is about stuff and leadership is about people, and what you're talking about is people. So I would love us to evolve and to grow the leadership. Management, we have it. It's the currency of management is status quo and control. And what we're looking for here with an EMS Leadership Summit that focuses on innovation is on leadership and growth. So I'm hoping that we can even change the dialogue and take your concept and move it forward with a leadership mindset and not a to manage mindset.
Yeah, and perhaps it's semantics, but I guess in my own mind, I kind of differentiate leadership and management. Part of it is making the trains run on time with an established process. So once the leaders determine where we want to go, we still need sound management to operate the machinery of the organization consistently in a way that allows that leadership to be fulfilled. But, I'm
going to step over to Angelo. Angelo, I think you should.
Nick, those are the classic definitions that you hear all the time. Okay. And I go to my leadership framework. Everybody has tasks that they have to do. It's not just a manager has tasks. Everybody has tasks, right? Everybody has people they have to influence. And everybody has decisions that they have to make at their level of the organization. So it's not an either or, because it's all encompassing. And this is why we're trying to start a new language around the word leadership with management accountabilities, because the management accountabilities are all of those tasks that everybody has to do, because they feed the processes of the system. And then you have the relationships that you're trying to build a safe environment where people feel motivated, they feel valued. That's the people part of the equation. And so it's not an either or, it's both. But the focus has to be people looking after people to create the environment where the people then say, I will then do the tasks and build the relationships to the best of my ability, because I feel secure in what I'm doing. I know my boss has my back. I know that I can go and talk to my boss and say, boss, I don't know. Or if something goes wrong, this went wrong. And we're not looking for blame. We're looking for, okay, we have to solve a problem, which may involve more education and training. It may involve a whole bunch of other things. But the key thing here is that everybody has those. We don't say all of the tasks go to this guy called the manager, because everybody has tasks. And so the way that I frame it is everybody has tasks that they have to do, decisions that they have to make, and people that they need to influence. Right?
No,
I agree.
That intersection,
go ahead.
Management and leadership together, they're administrators. Just like you're saying, Dr. Caravaggio, that we all have all those tasks. And he used the term just to differentiate. There's so much baggage connected to leadership, right? Very hard to, as Mick was talking about, to take the train to a different track. And maybe that term administrator would help. He's
Yeah.
since passed away, but
Yeah.
it made a difference when I was thinking about how you differentiate between leadership and management.
In my mind, I think a frontline EMT has a role in leadership and he has a role in management. He manages certain activities and he can exhibit leadership and show leadership and engage in leadership activities, despite the fact that his title is not manager or leader or administrator.
That's Vic, that's why I always start my presentations off with rank, title, and position have nothing to do with leadership.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Nothing. All they do is they tell you who the authority figures are in the organization, and that's it. That's it. Because
we're
as
on the
you
same
said,
page.
yeah, absolutely. It's just that, we're on the same page, but we're talking about it in a different language. And so if we could just get the language consistent and everybody using the same terms in the same way, then it would help take it help all of us like a step forward and moving forward continually, as opposed to always having to come back and readjust. Well, what do you mean by that? Well, what do you mean by that? Well, what do you mean by that? As opposed to, no, if we're talking people, it's leadership, full stop. If we're talking about systems and inventory and tasks that you have to do in order to manage a scene, that's on the management side. Okay. And so everybody does both.
I'm just striving to, every time I hear somebody use the terms in a way like, when we refer to leaders and management, I just feel it's my responsibility as I'm trying to promote change, is that I don't miss an opportunity to try and to illuminate and to say, here's our opportunity to pick a different word. Like instead of saying, the supervisor he, we say the supervisor they, right? Like we're trying to evolve and to grow, and we're stuck in this language that is generational. And it's not generational in terms of our age, it's generational in terms of our time in the EMS world. So as a leader, I've been in this for, almost 25 years, is I feel it's my responsibility to lead change. And that starts with, we've changed our scope of practice. We've changed how we interact. We changed how we lead people. And now we just need to have the language to follow. So any opportunity I can to say, hold on a minute, we're using the wrong terminology. We don't say he the leader, we say they the leader. We don't say the manager, we say, it's a leader with management responsibilities. So I will always try and point out when we are stuck in that framework that we've created or evolved in, and it's our responsibilities to lead the change and to drive the change by changing and having a new language of leadership.
And folks, thank you for that, Heather. I consider yourself, you have a new convert, because I love what the Canadians have done, even with the terminology for paramedics. Got rid of
not EMTs
stuff and just clean that all up. So thank you, Canada, for that as well.
on behalf of many great leaders and peers and people in Canada, we accept that. Thank you, Mick.
So think about this for a second. We're talking about just us, right? We can't get it right amongst ourselves.
Exactly.
So what are we going to do when we're trying to make bigger changes in bigger systems? A lot of the stuff that I address and try and learn about is if we're not considering systems, we're not considering what's true. We're not really looking at a real landscape, right? So if we can't talk amongst this very esoteric, small, limited group of folks and get it right between ourselves, how are we going to communicate outside to the people that decide where the money gets spent? Right, where to the politicians, to the hospital administrators, to all these other broad stakeholders. And if we're going to really make some dramatic changes and redesigning what it is that we do, because current designs are pretty dysfunctional, I would say, at least in the States, we've got to learn how to not just talk amongst ourselves, but then agree how we're going to talk to the other folks that have influence, power, and authority. So, I really like this idea that you have, Heather, and I message Mick, maybe we'll agree. We need to push that out. Well, he's the editor-in-chief. I'm the managing editor of International Journal of Paramedicine. that would be a great topic for a manuscript. What is the process and structure that you use to make that happen so other people can adopt it and take your reach and push it out in a much broader way? I never heard of it, and I know people in Canada.
From our igloos.
Hey.
Do you all know each other?
Yeah, we're from Canada. I know you guys.
Well, you know what's interesting, Mike, is first of all, I'm gonna just hop in here and say, it's not my idea. These are I'm a disciple of Angelo Caravaggio. He was my instructor, my mentor, and now my very close friend. And it's interesting because you talk about putting this out. I never miss an opportunity to correct and engage in this. And part of that is, I'm not always right, but I'm always fairly confident. And part of that is I never miss an opportunity to engage somebody and say, hold on there. And again, it doesn't matter to me what rank, position, or title somebody has, is that I have the ability to influence anybody. And it's funny, since I started taking this course from Dr. Caravaggio, Angelo, my very good friend, I have spewed his verbiage all over Canada, every paramedic service I've been with. And it's really cool. The best thing is when it mirrors back. And today is just another platform and an opportunity to try and change our language. So thank you for your patience, and for Mick for your instant conversion and adoption. So please, the thing, if we really want to move this practice forward, is A, we need to catch ourselves. B, we need to correct other people or point it out to them. And we need to live what we say every day.
Well, Brainley, with that, I'd like to thank everyone for being on this live panel. Maybe just some final remarks from folks, messages to our leaders. Again, we've got great sessions on the books for day 5. This whole week has been over 40 different speakers coming together with a common theme of how to advocate, innovate, and inspire for the future. And I don't know about you, but I feel inspired by hearing, the words that have been coming out of this panel and the speakers all week. So maybe we could start with Dr. Candace McDonald, and any remarks for the folks out there watching.
Yeah. So what I think about it, and as far as, and I'm not going to miss my opportunity to inspire change, is that, as you know, I'm part of the respondersafety.com network. That's my big push. That's why I got the cone earrings on. And what we know is that our first responders, tow, fire, EMS, law, everybody, the most dangerous job we do is on the road. In 2021, we lost 65 folks, and we're not looking very good for 2022. And so we need to start creating change. And again, that starts with education and doing things differently. So if you're a leader, if you're just in any type of role, I encourage you to check out the website, respondersafety.com. It's free training on how you can implement some different policies and procedures to prevent yourself and your fellow coworkers from getting struck on the highway. The other thing that we've done is we know how important data is. And for so long, we've been working in data silos, and why silos are great on a farm. I come from rural Ohio and a 100-year-old dairy farm, but silos are not great when it comes to making change in emergency services. So we now have a struck by database. So if you've had a close call, if you've been struck, somebody in your department, we're asking everybody to please go to that database and report it. Report struckby.com. Visit that, share that information within your departments, because we need people to report this information, because we have to do something to protect our first responders on the road. So.
And you heard it there, folks. Report struck by. Say that one more time.
Reportstruckby.com.
Reportstruckby.com, and you're developing this database of close near misses and struck by incidents.
Correct. And it's for EMS, fire, police, law, tow. We want all of it. So it's up, it's live. We've already started collecting that information. So, and this was made possible through federal funding. And so, we're hoping that everybody will jump on board so that we can move away from these data silos and start to make some change, because we know we need the data to drive change.
Beautiful.
Wonderful.
All right. Well, thank you for that. And thank you for pointing out the cone earrings.
Yes.
Great.
And the safety vest.
Right.
Yes, I noticed the bright yellow, and I did not notice the cone earrings.
Yes.
That's awesome.
I never miss an opportunity.
And Mike, would you mind going next?
Sure. So first, I'd like to say to Dr. McDonald, are you linked up with the traffic incident management folks
We teach the class. So the TIM class, that is something that we teach. Some of our subject matter experts have actually developed that. And you can actually get your TIM certificate for free online at respondersafety.com. So there's 10 online modules that any discipline can take. And the great thing is that we are recognized by National Registry. So there's some free CE. So for those in the US.
So leading you into that pitch as your straight man. So what I'd like to say actually is, we have to be role models, but we also have to challenge the folks that are coming behind us. Part of what I talked about in my little piece with Robbie was that individuals have to take control of their own careers, of their own pathways, of their own decisions. And part of the way you make good decisions is be more knowledgeable, understanding yourself, looking outwards and looking inwards simultaneously, grasping your values to begin to support your decision making, and then making a plan. I would credit an assignment I got in college in a leadership class with, I had to write a professional development plan. It was like, okay, what the heck is that? Well, I wrote it out. I set out my goals and objectives. And even though it was a 5-year plan and it took me more like 7 or 8 years to get it done, it made a huge difference. Externalizing and realizing it in writing is really important. Getting help from other folks, like I was talking about. Find a mentor. Those guys that are out there and ladies that are out there, the theys, get help. Ask for help. Because there's a lot of people that are willing to do it. And you won't find them unless you ask. So take control of your career, take control, help contribute to our growth and development, become that future leader that you might want to be, whether it's in a clinical mastery on the street or in a CQI office or as a supervisor or a manager or a leader or any form of leadership. The stuff that Dr. Caravaggio was talking about applies at every level. And the same thing with what Heather was talking about. Take control, do the work, contribute to the future.
Oh, well said. Well, thank you, Mike, for that and those remarks. If we could go to Angelo next and then Heather.
Okay, so just to sort of pick up on some of the points that Mike made, stop focusing solely on leadership. We fill 3 roles, and through the 3 roles of leader, follower, and peer, we can influence the organization, regardless of where you are, based on who you are, okay, and your skill, your knowledge, your passion for what you do, okay? Passion, it can be a huge influence and positive influence on the organization. And so we have to stop thinking about this whole thing that it's all about the leadership. No, it's about when we're in the follower role, how we follow our leader sets the example on how our followers will follow us. We're always on stage. People are always watching. And it's the values that we exhibit. It's the skill. It's the passion that we show for what we do and the people around us that causes influence. And once you get that influence, okay, you get passion. People get enthused. Then people are like coming to work, right? They're passionate when they come to work. They want to help people to the best of their ability. And the other key point is that I always never pass up an opportunity to pass on what you know. I think the worst mistake a professional can make is if they retire and they have not passed on all of the knowledge and experience that they have gained through their career to someone junior to them. Because I always look at it through the context of what is it going to cost for us to relearn what you already knew? Mm-hmm. Okay. And when you talk about 65 paramedics passing this year, okay, I mean, that's a terrible number. And so you get into this whole never pass up, or this concept of never pass up an opportunity to pass on experience, knowledge, or education to someone around you. Because the entire organization benefits and the people you serve benefit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well said. Well said. And I appreciate you again bringing your vast experiences and your last 20, 30 years worth of experience and boiling it down with Heather too into a I'd say like a 60, 70-minute masterclass that you guys shared with us. So we appreciate you being a part of this community.
Well, I hope you found it of interest anyway.
All right. Thank you for that. And Heather, would you like to leave us some final remarks?
Really, Angelo and everybody on this panel said it all. All I'm asking, and my drive and my passion is to just, if you see the opportunity to create the change, do it. If you see somebody using the terminology, as you can see, I can't pass up the opportunity. Is to lead change, we have to change ourselves. And really, we have to remember that leadership is about people. There is nothing more important than people, and management is about stuff. And really, and like Angelo said, you can be, I was on a screen once, and beside me, I had my boss, beside me, I had my peer, and on the other part of the screen, I had a follower. So it's just like Angelo said, it's not just about the leader, it's about everyone in that 360-degree circle that we have. So all I ask is that if people could please use the terminology leadership, and realize that manage, and to manage, the word manager, which as Angelo said, should never be used. It's about stuff. So leadership is about leadership is about people, management is about stuff. That's the whole message I just want to get out.
All right,
so
Heather,
thank you.
We appreciate your passion and again for bringing the context to the conversation, and again sharing what great things the BC EHS are really up to, and it's no wonder that you guys you folks are attracting talent from around the world. So it's really great to hear about this new incoming class that you have of international folks as well.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you. And last but not least, Mick, if you'd like to leave us with some final remarks, we appreciate your session today and being on this panel.
Sure. So we already kind of summarized the talk, but the thing that strikes me as we've been having this conversation is this notion of everyone embracing their opportunities to lead and personalize this. And the thing that's kind of running around in my head as we've been having the conversation is, even if your organization doesn't have a clinically oriented career ladder or EMS clinical specialists, whatever, do it anyway. Yeah. There's nothing that would stop any individual from deciding, I want to be a resuscitation clinical specialist, and just take it on as your own task, and find mentors, read journals, study the literature, and become that constructive disruption in your organization. That's the person that's nagging the medical director about this procedure or that procedure needs to be updated, or whatever that process needs to be changed, or up your own game. And even if the organization isn't harvesting that defibrillator data file, well, you harvest it and you find out a way to analyze it and track your own quality metrics. Don't let the organization hold you back. If you get support from the organization, great, but don't let that be the rate limiting factor. I kind of call it the chicken franchise model of EMS. You might have the same, company uniform and the company recipe book. We call them protocols, but that shouldn't be a rate limiting factor of how good of customer service and how good of medicine that you deliver to your patients. So you might need to do it in spite of the organization rather than because of it, but charge ahead and, just make that U-shaped hole in the wall that you just ran through as you charge forward.
Brilliant. Thank you, Mick. And maybe a quick plug for the International Journal of Paramedicine. If you can give us a quick update. I know that's coming out soon, and you've got a massive group of contributors, and I was fascinated to watch your session, the International Journal session that you hosted about that.
Yeah. So it's going to be a new peer-reviewed academic journal, but we're trying to kind of break the mold on the typical sort of stuff that peer-reviewed journals have published, with a focus on quantitative clinical research. We're looking to really expand the types of manuscripts with publication of concepts, publication of quality improvement projects, multi-methods research, qualitative research, and just a much broader spectrum of scholarship that we want to participate in. And we're just going to try to take it up a couple notches with a different sort of peer-reviewed academic journal that is not just for researchers. We want to make it something very accessible to everyone in the industry, from the front line all the way to senior leadership and medical direction. So the journal is going to be launching next month, and the URL is internationaljournalofparamedicine.com. Our formal call for submissions will go out in early October, but I'll tell you right now that the website is up and running, and if you have a manuscript that you're interested in publishing, ready to take those submissions. So check out the guidelines for authors, and if you have questions, get a hold of me or Mike, and we'll be happy to help walk you through the process.
Brilliant. Thank you for that
You.
quick share and that quick plug. We appreciate our speakers tonight. Thank you for joining us, folks. And we will continue on with our exhibitor hall, but thanks for being here tonight.
I want to thank Josh also. He had to jump off, and also Candace had to jump off. But thank you all so very much.
Wow, what a fantastic group. I mean, it is an honor and a privilege to even be besides these folks. They're kind of heroes in our industry, and we're excited for them to be sharing, new innovative ideas that are really going to push the industry forward. So we appreciate their excitement. Lisa, this is day number 5. We are coming down to the finish line here.
I'm sad. I'm a little sad. I mean, it seems like it goes like that. We planned for months and months and months, and
9 months of planning.
I know, and we've already started planning for the 5th annual, which will be next year. But please do go to the virtual exhibitor hall. There's still time to register for a free pass. You can get all of today's sessions for about 15 hours more, I think.
12 and a half hours more, I think we have. And a reminder, the price does go up on the All Access Pass. The price will go up on Sunday. So if you're thinking about getting an All Access Pass, grab that All Access Pass before the price does go up. Certainly well worth it at the full price as well. But for $97 right now, US, you can get a lifetime access to 40 plus speaker sessions this week, including CAPC approved CME credits. Lisa, we're working on action guides for each session. We've got MP3s uploaded as well. So certainly a lot of bonuses to build your leadership library. Today's session with Dr. Nadine Levick, this is her 5th annual keynote, because she actually did the keynote at our EMS safety forum. So this marks 5 sessions, and I think she's the only one we'd allow to go live because it's so much work putting all these presentations together in schedules, like aligning the moons just for the schedules to all line up. But Dr. Levick was incredible with her talk today on EMS safety and innovation. Geez, there was so much, over 240 slides in a matter of, I think, 50 minutes. And she talked about the latest in innovation and safety. So we appreciate Dr. Levick joining us for that. You heard from Dr. Angelo Caravaggio and Heather Edward. Fantastic conversation, again, boiling down this concept into what I'm just calling a masterclass that I think every EMS leader needs to watch.
Absolutely.
You heard from Mick Gunderson today, editor of the International Journal of Paramedicine, and Lisa, you had a chance to talk with Mick about.
Yeah, I interviewed him for this presentation, and he just frames the possibility of engagement through this whole quality model, which I think was just a brilliant idea. I mean, you heard him talk today about it, like, getting stopping the bottleneck of having one quality manager, or and allowing it to be sort of an opportunity for people to develop specialties. It's really fascinating what he talks about in that session.
And Jonathan Washko, I mean, phenomenal leader in EMS in the industry, and he's really giving us a talk here on what he saw from a disruption perspective, and we certainly appreciate his insights.
another really fascinating conversation I got to be a part of. I mean, I didn't talk to the presentation, but I was helping him record, and it kept, like, my mind kept getting blown throughout the entire thing. So just a really knowledgeable, easy to listen to person, and he shared so much great information.
You heard from Dr. Candace McDonald tonight talking about building this data highway for reducing risk on the roadway and constantly facing safety, the chances of safety and the risk of a struck by incident from distracted, drugged, drunk drivers. And really, it's sad to listen to those statistics that continue to grow every year. So their organization is on a great path to develop safety resources and drive change in the industry. So check out her session, as well as the Emergency Responder Safety Institute at respondersafety.com. Their booth has a ton of resources here designed for every level of EMS organizations. It's driven by this nonprofit, and they've put together some fantastic free training programs to get your, National Traffic Incident Management Certificate. So,
yeah, and she said free CEs, so that's an awesome opportunity.
Mike Touchstone, past president of NEMSMA. It's fantastic to get his 40 plus years experience and his perspective, especially from a fire services EMS delivery system, and then looking at, national models, development of the 7 pillars. So fantastic conversation about problem solving, the challenges we face and how to solve those complex, wicked challenges.
And certainly, last but not least, Josh Watts, who I interviewed and you heard from a little bit tonight. One of the biggest issues that folks are facing is how do you attract the right talent? How do you keep the right talent? And that's really what he focuses on. And as he mentioned, he went from 40 employees or 40 person organization to over 400 in 4 years, and yet was able to keep the model of caring for people and what do I try to say? A culture of that people wanted to be a part of. When we got referred to him by someone else, and they said he is like a example, like a embodied example of the kind of leader people want to follow. And it was a really great conversation.
Well, that's the lineup for today, folks. There are still about 12 and a half hours. If you go to emsleadershipsummit.com, you can register for your free pass. There's still time to upgrade if you wanted a VIP and all access pass before the price does go up. It is only $97 US right now, and you can access that right here at our virtual exhibitor hall, emsleadershipsummit.com/exhibit. Check out our great sponsors. Scott Moore from Newton 360 has a fantastic booth and put together. He's put his calendar up there. If you want to get on Scott's calendar, what a treat I'm telling you that will be, to talk about Newton 360 and how to create the vital signs of your organizations and their people. And Scott, just a good friend. I mean, he provided 2 presentations this week, both of them just outstanding. And I'm looking forward to us getting to meet him next month when we speak at the Vital Signs Conference, and he's going to be there. So that's a New York State conference. So it's really great to have that. I was going to say something about the. I know. I wanted to just mention the playbook for folks with. If you're on the fence about whether or not to purchase the all access pass, and again, it's totally up to you, obviously, but if you go through this this book, there's articles that one from us, but several speakers have provided articles, and what's really cool is you can get a sense of what the presentations are about, and it might help you to decide. Certainly the description of the sessions and our great sponsors, of course. So anyway, I just want to draw people's attention to all the value. You can download that. It's upwards of 20 pages now. But take a look at the schedule, see what you missed if you haven't signed up yet, and see if an all access pass would serve you. 15 CAPC approved credits,
speaker notes, all kinds of cool things available for All Access Pass folks.
I'd like to thank the sponsors, our sponsors at Ninth Brain, putting together, these what sometimes become very fragmented systems to complete these management tasks, from risk assessment, quality improvement, scheduling, time clocks, risk analysis. So fascinating company putting together solutions for EMS, the air medical systems, pre-hospital systems. Reach out to Bradley Hughes right here, and he will follow up with every person about the Ninth Brain solution and offer just a free walkthrough and demo to answer any questions. So always appreciate the support of Ninth Brain and just being there to support this free virtual conference.
And Binderlift, we should mention, also a returning sponsor. I think he's been with us three years now.
Yeah.
But this, he offers a free trial, a free field trial of their signature product, the Binderlift. I love their tagline, because humans don't come with handles. And, let's face facts that, people don't fall typically in this wide open space, right? They fall in a bathroom or a difficult place to get somebody up. And, this product allows people to be safe and not only keep the patient safe, but safe for the providers.
And once folks get their hands on it, I feel like that's when they realize that, I no longer have to pick people up under their armpits, that it's safe and effective for the patients, more comfortable. So we appreciate Rick Bender and his whole company for providing these great resources here in the virtual exhibitor booth. Let's go over to Fire Rescue TV. We are simulcasting on their network across 450 fire and EMS stations across the country. Martin has developed a fantastic platform for digital signage and helping improve the communication within an organization. So check out Fire Rescue TV's virtual exhibitor hall. Send a message to Martin, let him know that you might be interested, or just to thank them for supporting this EMS Leadership Summit. And we're also simulcasting across the Fire Rescue TV Facebook page as well.
Thank you, Martin. Really appreciate you.
Lots of resources here for the EMS documentary film, EMS in Crisis, Honorable But Broken. We've included their entire talk here for the whole week, and we'll just leave it up here in their exhibitor booth. The producers, Bryony Gilby and Rich Diefenbach, two experienced news reporters working with 60 Minutes News. And, Bryony shared how her children became involved in EMS. So she went on a mission to really, put this documentary film together. So we have direct donation links. There's a letter you can actually use that explains what this film is. If you want to send a letter to support and request your agency, your organization, your national association to fund this fantastic advocacy film project, so we can educate the politicians and drive change, because the public really is not aware of the state that EMS is in the U.S.
Absolutely not. They are definitely not aware. It's a wonderful, even the trailer is so moving. I can't wait to see the documentary.
CAMS, the Commission on Accreditation of Medical Transport Systems, reach out to them. Dr. Victoria Reinhardt is answering people's questions about mobile integrated health. She's a fantastic resource and consultant. She helped write and drive these program standards for community paramedicine and mobile integrated health. So it's an exciting time, folks, to read the latest accreditation standards. And the great thing about accreditation is they lay out a roadmap for success, right? You don't have to reinvent the wheel. So we appreciate CAMS and them driving the industry of mobile integrated health.
And wealth management, or no, sorry.
Too fast. We've got some rapid deployables here from FirstNet by AT&T. And I'm just looking at their stats over the last year to find they're just increasing the amount of organizations that they're supporting, the number of connections, the coverage throughout the country. And you can discover what these rapid deployables are and reach out if you have any questions. They will answer your questions about FirstNet. It's a direct line to somebody pretty high up in the organization, some different people watching this virtual exhibitor booth, but they will answer your questions and make sure you get connected to the right person in order to either enroll your agency or just get information about FirstNet, how to request these resources if there ever is a disaster in your community.
Absolutely. And then I wanted to mention Wendy Lund, our good friend, who I think has also been with us 5 times. And one of the things I want to say about her, I mean, there's a lot of great resources in this booth, but she also has an extraordinary amount of resources in her website. So visit her website. You can also connect with Wendy. She'll reach out and have a personal conversation with you. She's a wonderful person and really dedicated her life now to
supporting paramedics and
resilience, first responders, to just take care of you, not just perform all the time, but how do you take care of you?
And she has a great model of her Reach for Resiliency program and how to do that. So reach out to Wendy. We appreciate her and her support. So we've got our booth, last but not least here, right? We are going to be doing EMS Leadership Live. So over the last week, you've seen from 40 different speakers and sessions talking about different forms of leadership, change, advocacy, innovation. And Lisa and I are thrilled to create this platform for folks. And at the same time, we have an entire curriculum with a foundation of effective communication and how to lead change by, creating a collaborative vision. And we have a framework to share. And we're going to be doing that over 3 days. So November 15th, 16th, and 17th, you can register for that event. It's a live virtual training, not pre-recorded, not even recorded. So we want you there live. We want you, we can see all your faces in our studio, and we can put you folks, connect people in breakout sessions and walk through 3 days of training about change at the level of self, change at the level of teams and influencing others, as well as ultimately the strategies and tactics to creating a more engaged organization, solving recruitment and retention as challenges within your organization.
Absolutely. It's we did this back in February. We had an extraordinary group of people who joined us, and they're, you can read their testimonials right here. They shared very generously throughout the 3 days the insights, the new ways of thinking that they discovered. That's the cool thing about this training. It's not about us giving you 3 days of information. It's finding and discovering what works, and really discovering for yourself how to lead, how the best way for you to lead. And it's about taking away things out of your ways of thinking, and really starting to see how to create relationships with people. And ultimately we do get into strategy, but that is the end result of really allowing yourself to get to the most creative part of your brain and interact with others and learn from others. So although it's virtual, it is live training at its best. And I know I sound very arrogant in saying that, but I mean, because we have you up on screen, we're live in a studio. So I'm so excited to be doing this again. I mean, we had such amazing results in February. I can't wait to do this again.
Absolutely. A fantastic opportunity, folks. Again, we had our live lunch and learn yesterday. We had people, we gave them a taste of what to expect. We talked about communication as the foundation for effective leadership. And, we had such great feedback from that session. So we're really excited to share and to pull this together. So Lisa, I think that wraps up our virtual exhibitor hall. That wraps up 5 days of sessions. There's still time for folks to watch now at emsleadershipsummit.com.
Yeah, they're available till 8 a.m. tomorrow, which will be Sunday. So if you are on the fence, jump in. There's no time like the present to experience 40 plus just brilliant people, passionate about EMS and causing change and advocating, inspiring and innovating. And I feel very satisfied that we delivered what we promised we were going to deliver. I feel really good about it.
Absolutely. We set out to help democratize this information, get it to the areas of the world that people maybe can't afford to, or don't want to take time away from their family. And I feel like we've got such an incredible growing line of speakers every year. This was the most amount of speakers we've ever put into one summit, and we've had to expand the number of days for the conference before. So we're looking forward to year number 5 next year. So we really look forward to that. Lisa, I want to thank you for your leadership, for bringing this together with me, and being a champion for this type of training.
Well, and back at you, I love our partnership, and I appreciate you so much. A leader through and through, and I'm humbled to be partners with you in this, and co-hosting this with you, and co-founding the EMS Leadership Academy. And please reach out to us, folks, if there's anything we can do for you. Support at emsleadershipacademy.com. And I hate to say goodbye because I don't want it to end.
Right. Well, we appreciate you out there, folks. Stay safe and enjoy the rest of the sessions. Bye for now.
Thank you for everything you do out there. We really, really appreciate you so very much.